The way we wound up being is rooted in the past, and it clouds the present. In any case, we're going to need to employ a certain kind of listening in a particular way. This is where authentic listening comes into play, as distinguished by Earhart and others. This kind of listening is where someone who is speaking is left in a place where whatever they were talking about doesn't have the force and the grip that it had on them before. In this kind of listening, the listener simply listens without judgment and evaluations. Listening without our need to cut them off and respond immediately in an attempt to fix something that we perceive as clearly wrong with them or in their view, or express some strong feeling that we have about what they're saying. If the speaker would just shut up, for instance, we could give them the benefit of our infinite wisdom and they would no longer suffer. They just need to listen to us. In this way, we find ourselves impatient for the speaker to stop speaking so we can respond. This is a hallmark of not listening in this special way that I'm talking about. It is incredibly difficult for us not to fix something for someone, but rather to continue to listen until the speaker has said everything about whatever it is that they're dealing with, and there is nothing left to be said about it. When that has been accomplished, one has listened to another authentically, and it will leave them unburdened by whatever conversation that was there, which they're caught up with, whatever private conversation. If this is not done, whatever is stopping them, whatever fear or worry, will continue to erode their performance in the present. It is possible to disappear any conversation, but we don't have an experience of that in our lives, or most of us don't. So it is difficult for us to embrace and practice. If at the end of the communication being delivered by the speaker, there is a lightness, a levity, even laughter and humor, then the listener has accomplished listening authentically, as the speaker has lightened up, or enlightened, so to speak. Try it. You won't believe it until it happens to you. You have to be willing to keep saying to them, "What else about that?" or "Anything else about that?" until there is nothing left for the speaker to say. All the while, we must suspend our internal machinations, our thoughts, feelings, judgments, evaluations, all of that. Not that you won't have them, you just have to let them pass through. It is as though whatever they are saying about the issue is going into a black hole. Any fixing it, any resistance, any agreement with, adds mass to their stuckness. If you want to make sure someone stays stuck with something, just keep trying to change. Just try to fix it. Make it better for them. It will stick around. In advanced listening skills, it is possible to take their side about how awful it is, but one must not get sucked into the story. That is to say, agree wholly. There is always a part of you that remains outside of their narrative. Although I have described and pointed to this way of listening, ultimately, it doesn't really look any particular way. The key is to focus on the spaces that the speaker is moving through to free themselves. And if we create that space, our clearing, our way of being, however you want to say it, they will show up unburdened sooner or later, and we were little more than witnesses. Conversations go out of existence, and we actually have to do something to keep them in existence, to keep them present. We have to make them circular or give them mass. More on that another day. When you get stuck or disempowered, you will need to find someone who will listen to you in exactly the same way. You will coach them so that they listen to you without their labyrinth of judgments and evaluations. Or at least tell them to keep them to themselves until much later on when you can maybe hear it. Tell them that you just want them to get this communication and do nothing with it. You will know if they're not listening authentically. Then you back up and coach them a little bit more and proceed until there's nothing left for you to say about what you are dealing with, and the future is not clouded with any concern that almost certainly came from some past or some way you wound up being, which is also rooted in the past. We're going to hear from Chris Zhu, a graduate of the Being a Leader course, an ontological and phenomenological approach, delivered in 2023 at UCLA. This is what he has to say about authentic listening. He's being interviewed by Assistant Dean Dylan Stafford. I've edited the interview for conciseness. The full-length video link is below.
You gave the specific example of authentic listening, that there's one thing to talk about authenticity, and it's even more valuable to have access to the practice of authentic listening, and that what that made available was an ability to hear your father differently than you had heard him before you did the class, and really hear what he's saying. And that's what's available with authentic listening, is we're getting nothing between me and the person who's speaking. I'm over here in their world, hearing what they're saying without all my preconceived notions and judgments and opinions.
Whatever my objective is, whether that's be my dad or another person. My dad, he has his own business, and I just have so many ideas that I think I can help him do better.
Yeah, well, you're getting an MBA from UCLA.
Like, he's not listening to me, he's not listening. He's being stubborn. It's difficult to communicate. I found out it's myself. Mm-hmm. I really end up finding out it's myself. I don't understand his business. I did not understand fully his concerns. I needed to listen to him in order to help him better. Sometimes maybe just listening is really helping him without providing my series of suggestions that may not fit him. Sometimes it's not happening only with I think for people, not just with the parents, maybe with their partners, their colleagues. This type of scenario can be applied to all kinds of situations. For me, I was lucky that I had it with my dad. Until today, the Leadership Foundation course has passed for about 3 months now, right? So until today, I feel like I'm still benefiting from listening to him better. It's really listening to people, understand authentic listening. Actually apply this to listening to my boss, listening to my colleagues whom I supervise. I hired a new person on my team, and for the first 1 to 2 months, I felt like it's not a good fit. The way I approach different projects, it's very different. But then I had patience. I listened to her, openly communicate. The more I listened to her authentically and being out here listening without any judgments, just be here and listen. I felt like I understand her better. And now that for me being able to listen to her, and she actually felt that I was listening, so she also listens to me better. The way I behaved influenced my counterpart, my colleagues. So I think this is very valuable.
Let me know what you discover in practicing this. I would be very interested. We're in this together. We're doing research on this together. This is a new science, a new possibility of being for human beings. I love you. See you on the next.